41. Time to get Russell Brown on the show, the head honcho of publicaddress.net, the hard news blog there, also the Media 7 show on TVNZ7. G'day there, Russell.
G'day.
G'day. All kinds of things on the go at the moment. Of course, the debt crisis. We had a great analysis, a deep analysis from Selwyn Manning on that one this morning. But the news coming through, I've just seen from Bill English saying, if they do default, won't affect us so much. Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's not my understanding.
No.
He's putting a rosy glow on that one.
Well, let me say, okay, it's on the front page of the Herald. He says, Finance Minister Bill English told Radio New Zealand the country is better placed than most to cope with the fallout from America's debt woes.
Which may be true, although we've got a pretty large amount of private debt. We don't have a lot of public debt, net public debt compared to particularly a lot of the European countries and the US. But the thing that bugs me is that the whole world becomes prey to the completely broken political culture in America.
Yeah.
Which it is. I mean, when you've got people like Michelle Bachmann, who is actually the front runner in the Republican. They haven't got the primaries yet. She's currently the front runner for amongst the Republican challengers to Obama next year, and she's mad. She's absolutely crazy, and some of these people seem to think that a default would be somehow bracing or something. I don't think they really get it, and in a larger sense, I think Americans on the political right have lost touch with the fact that there is a gap between what they see their nation as being and the tax base that it has, is able to accrue revenue from. But it does not have the tax base of a major power. I think Paul Buchanan made this point earlier this year. Yeah. And it's a real. They seem to think they can do both, and they can't.
On one hand, though, I do have some sympathy for that view of, everything is broken, right? The whole way the world economy works is just shattered. It's broken. So something needs to snap. Why keep on piling on the debt? Why not just stop and just go, look, we're all living beyond our means, the whole Western world. Something's got to give. Something's got to break. We need to live in a new way. It's some kind of revolution needs to happen.
Yeah, well, in a less revolutionary sense, perhaps they need to raise the revenue that they're spending. I mean, that is the problem. And when you look at the New York Times had a fascinating graph about where their debt, public debt, has come from, because you remember that Clinton ran budget surpluses through the 90s, and overwhelmingly by a factor of about 4-1, it has come from Bush policies. Bush
and his foreign policies, right?
His foreign policy, but also the Bush tax cuts for the very wealthiest Americans.
Yeah. Hello! Didn't we have those a couple of years ago here in New Zealand?
Yeah, nothing quite like there. I mean, I think this is one of the problems with political culture in America is that it lends itself to gimmick policy. You see it in justice with mandatory minimum sentences, and you see it in tax policy in particular, because even Obama has to demonstrate that he's cutting someone's taxes, and you end up with a system that's just completely out of shape, where not enough people actually pay tax.
Yeah.
And it could be said that we're somewhat heading to that in New Zealand, but I think our system is much better put together than theirs.
Well, if we don't get a capital gains through, then certainly we are headed that way, aren't
we?
Yeah,
exactly, and we need to get that through. Yeah, the idea is to have a broad, consistent tax base.
Yeah. Not likely, though, with all the polls that are coming out at the moment, Russell.
No, although a little bit of a fillip for the left after a dreadful Colmar-Brunton poll, a little bit of a fillip for the left in the latest Roy Morgan poll, which potentially, as someone put it, puts the political left in New Zealand within striking distance. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, there was a coalition, a broad coalition, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that is the way you have to look at it.
But looking at the Fairfax poll this morning on Stuff, saying National could govern alone.
Yeah, I doubt that will actually happen. Because there were various times where it looked like when Labour was in the ascendancy, like they could govern alone, and it always closed up. Maybe something will be different here, but yeah, it is. One thing that fascinates me is there's a gap between perceptions of the government and perceptions of John Key.
Yeah.
And whilst he might frustrate some political observers with what appears to be his ineptitude and inability to think on his feet, people like him.
Because they reflect the normal Kiwi male.
I guess so. A normal Kiwi male millionaire, yeah. But, I've spoken to my mother about this, who is, as a retired person, not too keen on some of the policies enacted by this government, but she thinks Mr. Key's a nice man. And that seems to be at the root of it. So, although there might be those on the right of the party, and certainly within ACT, who consider Key to be a feeble appeaser, centrist appeaser, he, I think, is actually still the key to their high polling.
Or Mr. Keys, as Obama likes to call him.
Yes. Yes, it's interesting that Key demonstrably does not have Helen Clark's strength in foreign affairs.
No.
That was always where she looked best.
And that's why she's where she is now.
Yeah, exactly. But you can remember she would often actually look a bit shabby when she was fighting fires domestically. She would take things too personally. She just did not look good fighting fires. The moment she got out of the country and on an international stage, she looked incredibly assured. And it appears, with the whole ridiculous Mossad thing being a good example, that John Key is utterly the opposite. He really struggles without a minder feeding him words in his ear.
Yeah.
On those stages.
And also the off-the-cuff comments after the Norwegian massacre as well.
Yeah. Don't do that until you know what you're talking about, John.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, before we go, do you want to talk about the Media 7 special that's on the way on science?
Every year we do a science special, and this one we've got a really good lineup because we've not only got Sir Peter Gluckman, the Prime Minister's Chief Science Advisor, but his buddy, Lord Robert Winston, of the Human Body fame and many other TV shows. So that I'm looking forward to talking to them. We'll be tasking them to talk on communicating complex ideas.
I'd love to know what Gluckman thinks when John Key says stupid stuff about science.
I dare say Gluckman thinks quite harshly about it, but he's too diplomatic.
He's probably not going to say. Yeah.
Yes. Because, you can't have, strictly speaking, the Prime Minister's Chief Science Advisor in public calling the Prime Minister a fool.
Yeah.
Possibly he has stronger words in private, because he can be pretty stern, Gluckman.
But you have got Mike Joy on, who's been on the receiving end of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Dr. Mike Joy at Massey, who's the environmental scientist, who pointed out that the state of our waterways is a cause for alarm and was dismissed, of course, by John Key on BBC, the BBC interview. We've got him and Claire Browning, who's a blogger at Pundit, who actually covers these sorts of things really well. And then we've got 3 Maori scientists, which I'm quite looking forward to, actually. And also, along with the Science Media Centre and Sciblogs, we have a list of the 5 best and worst reported science stories of the year in New Zealand.
Brilliant.
And it's an interesting list, actually. And it will name names.
Yeah, I can imagine who might be on there as well. Thanks very much, Russell.
Okay, cheers.
See ya. Russell Brown at pubgoaddress.net, and also the Media 7 show on TVNZ 7. That science special, I think, will be next week, by the way. 10 minutes away from 9, here is Toy Love. Crack your goal, The Crunch.